I was erased from my own family's story, and I didn't even see it coming. To the world, we were the perfect trio. My younger sister Claire, the angel, my parents, the devoted guides, and me, the forgotten middle child. Claire always sparkled, and I simply kept things running. I left quietly, thinking distance would heal what silence never could. But years later, when my mother died and the will was read, I realized they hadn't just forgotten me, they'd rewritten the whole truth. You want to know the worst part? They still thought I'd stay silent. They were wrong. I used to believe that every family had its favorite, that it was normal to feel like a guest in your own home. But in ours, favoritism wasn't subtle. It was scripted. Claire was the star, the chosen one, and she wore that crown with effortless entitlement. She didn't have to try. Not when every stumble of hers was met with applause and every success of mine with silence. Growing up, I did everything they asked. I got straight A's, won science fairs, tutored my little brother Noah through his health scares, and still made it home in time to make dinner when Mom felt too tired. Claire, meanwhile, was too busy practicing her twirls in the mirror, humming some pop song while I scrubbed dishes. She failed algebra twice, but got a new iPhone because she's stressed. When I aced my SATs, Dad nodded without looking up from the paper. "You're the strong one, Mads," Mom would say, which in our house meant, "You'll manage on your own." Claire got everything: attention, sympathy, gifts. But the birthday that changed everything happened when she turned 17. The house was decked out like a royal gala: white candles, soft jazz, crystal glasses for sparkling cider. She descended the staircase like a princess in a navy silk dress, our parents beaming like they'd won the lottery. I stood in the corner holding a tray of cheese cubes and grapes I had arranged myself. No one noticed. Later that night, after the guests had left and the dishwasher hummed in the background, I walked past Mom's room. Her voice was hushed but clear enough through the door. "As long as your sister is alive," she whispered in Vietnamese, "you will never have it all." I froze. As the eldest, I had always thought my job was to lead, to protect. But that sentence, those 12 words, cut deeper than any punishment they'd ever given me. Claire murmured something back, too soft to catch. Then they both laughed. A soft, conspiratorial giggle. A sound I hadn't heard since I was a little girl clinging to my mother's apron. 2 weeks later, the scandal happened. It started with an email. The school board had received an anonymous tip claiming I'd plagiarized my final thesis in biology. It was absurd. I had spent months in the lab. My hands still smelled like agar plates. But when I confronted the dean, he slid a manila folder across the desk. Inside were doctored screenshots, falsified references, a fabricated confession email from my account. I looked up and knew instantly who had done it. Claire. I confronted her that night. She sat on her bed, painting her toenails, calm as glass. "You framed me," I said, voice shaking. "Don't be dramatic," she replied without looking up. "Maybe it's a sign. Maybe school isn't for everyone." I stormed out. I told my parents. They exchanged glances like two people who had rehearsed for this moment. "Claire wouldn't do something like that," Mom said. "But you always keep to yourself, Mads," Dad added. "Maybe you misunderstood." Noah peeked from the hallway, silent, wide-eyed. The next day, my scholarship was suspended. The phone calls stopped. My locker was defaced. I became invisible overnight. And my parents? They stopped paying my rent. Quietly. Without a word. My bank account dried up in days. When I came home, the locks had been changed. There was no screaming, no drama, just a vacuum of noise. A silence that howled louder than any accusation. I packed a bag and left. Nobody ran after me. Nobody called. It's strange, the things you remember when you're broken. The way Mom used to slice oranges for Claire, edges clean, skin peeled perfectly. The way Dad would look up and smile when Claire entered the room, even if he'd been frowning all day. The way I used to believe that love was something you could earn, if only you worked hard enough. Now, as I watched the bus pull away from the curb that night, duffel bag on my lap and 1 semester short of graduating, I realized something darker. Maybe I was never part of their plan to begin with. 10 years changed many things. Claire now had a magazine cover smile and a title that sparkled: CEO of a sustainable fashion brand. Green is the new gold, her billboard screamed across downtown. She gave TED Talks about conscious capitalism and posted selfies with orphans in Ghana. Every corner of the internet loved her. Me? I ran a second-hand bookstore 2 towns over. Wild Words was my refuge, filled with the scent of dust and stories that never lied to me. I liked the quiet, the forgotten hardcovers, the slow rhythm of real life. Most days I didn't think about my family. Other days, I couldn't stop. Mom passed away on a Tuesday. I found out through a tagged obituary on Facebook. Claire didn't call. She posted a black and white picture of herself holding Mom's hand in a hospital bed. The caption: I held her through her last breath. She whispered, I'm proud of you. Thousands of comments poured in. You're so strong. Your mom raised a queen. There was no mention of me. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived from the family lawyer. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity, that old parasite, won. The will was short and precise. All personal assets, property, and remaining savings to be transferred solely to Claire Tran. Madeline does not require inheritance, as she has established an independent life. Noah wasn't mentioned. Not a word. I stared at the paper until the ink blurred. Then I drove to Daniel's place, the only cousin who hadn't chosen sides when everything fell apart. He didn't act surprised. He poured whiskey, turned off his phone, and closed the blinds like we were plotting a crime. Your mom didn't write that, he said bluntly. Or at least, she didn't sign it willingly. What do you mean? I visited her the week before she died. She couldn't speak, tubes in her mouth, eyes barely open. That signature? It's dated 2 days before that. Claire? Daniel nodded. She controlled everything at the end. Nurses, meds, even the lawyer. Your mom trusted Claire to handle things. I didn't speak. I felt like I was floating again, unanchored, weightless in a storm of silence. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something in me pressed accept. Madeline? My throat clenched. That voice. I hadn't heard it in years. Noah, I whispered. I need to see you, he said. Please. Tonight. The diner he chose hadn't changed since we were kids. Same flickering sign, same stale pie smell. He looked thinner, older than I remembered, like grief had pressed on him for years. He didn't waste time. Claire stopped ordering my meds. I blinked. What? My heart meds. After Mom got sick, Claire said they were being transitioned to a new provider. Then they just stopped arriving. You could have gone to Dad. He scoffed. Dad? He was too busy golfing with Claire's investors. I leaned in. Why would she do that? She said I needed to learn independence. Said the family couldn't support weak links anymore. But I think... He stopped, fingers trembling around the mug. I think she was trying to prove something. To Mom. The words landed hard. Claire had always needed to be the center, even if it meant letting our baby brother slowly fall apart. I tried to go public, Noah said, but she spun it, said I was mentally unstable. And then she started a health fund in my name. People donated. And the money? New Tesla, spa trips, a vacation to Dubai. My hands curled into fists. We need proof. Noah pulled a flash drive from his coat. You remember the old house? The nanny cams Dad installed when Claire got caught shoplifting? Yeah, he said he took them down. He didn't. He just forgot. That night, I watched the video. It was grainy, time-stamped years ago. Claire stood in the living room holding a dropper over Max, our golden retriever. Hours later, he would convulse, foam at the mouth, and die. I had been blamed. Expelled from school for animal cruelty. Shunned. On screen, Claire smiled and wiped the dropper clean. I wanted to scream. Instead, I saved the file and stared into the darkness of my apartment. Claire hadn't just manipulated Mom and Dad. She had rewritten reality. She controlled the narrative, the perception, the entire ecosystem of our family. And now, the public. She had donors, fans, investors, employees, all dancing to her curated illusion. But this time, she wasn't the only one with a story. I drove to my father's house with shaking hands, the flash drive tucked in my coat pocket like a weapon. For years, I had told myself he was simply passive, blind, tired of conflict. But somewhere deep down, I still believed that if he saw the truth, really saw it, he'd finally stand beside me. He answered the door with the same distant expression he always wore when I was around, as if seeing me was a mild inconvenience. I stepped inside, the walls still adorned with Claire's awards, framed magazine covers, charity gala invitations. I didn't bother with small talk. I plugged the flash drive into his laptop and pressed play. He watched the video of Claire poisoning Max. The shaky footage, the smile, the way she tossed the dropper into her purse. Then the video of her transferring money from Noah's health fund to a luxury account. The paper trail, the emails, the timestamps. When the last clip ended, he closed the laptop. For a moment, I thought he might cry. Instead, he grabbed the laptop and slammed it against the coffee table. Once, twice. Until the screen cracked, frames snapped, wires popped loose. "You shouldn't have brought this here," he said quietly. "You saw it," I said, breath catching. "You saw everything." His voice trembled. "You don't understand. If you're right, it means we were wrong about everything. About Claire, about you, about your mother, and I." He paused. "I can't live with that. I can't rewrite a lifetime." I stood there, stunned. It wasn't anger in his voice. It was fear. Fear of losing the fantasy he had helped build. Fear that the golden daughter was a fraud, and the ignored one was always right. I left without another word. That night, Noah collapsed in my apartment. He had come over to drop off more evidence, bank statements, encrypted files, but his face was pale, his breath ragged. I called 911, but he grabbed my hand. "No," he gasped. "No hospital." "You need a doctor." "She'll find me." I froze. "Claire?" He nodded, eyes wide with panic. "She threatened me. Said if I talked, she'd make sure I never left the ICU again." I sat with him on the floor, counting his breaths, praying each one wouldn't be his last. The ambulance came anyway, but I lied and told them he was just dehydrated. They gave him fluids, told me to monitor him closely. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Claire was at my door. She looked radiant, polished, not a hair out of place. Her smile was slow, serpentine. "I know what you're doing," she said, voice syrupy. I didn't respond. "You think you're brave, that this is justice, but you're playing a game you don't understand, Madeline. You poisoned our dog. You robbed Noah." She laughed. "Prove it. To who? Dad won't. Mom's dead. And you?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're just the bitter dropout with a dusty bookstore. I'm the savior, the philanthropist, the face of green capitalism." I shut the door in her face, but she was right about one thing. She had power, and she used it. Within a week, my bookstore was vandalized, windows shattered, books slashed, customers stopped coming. Anonymous reviews flooded my page. Unstable. Conspiracy theorist. Dangerous. Local news ran a story titled, "Family Feud Erupts. Estranged Sister Accused of Defamation." Claire had filed a lawsuit, publicly, boldly, claiming I was harassing her, leaking doctored videos, endangering her career. I watched everything I'd rebuilt begin to unravel, and for the first time in years, I considered giving up. I booked a flight to New York just to get away, to start over. I was halfway through packing when I found it. A letter, tucked behind an old photo album I'd stolen from the house before they locked me out. It was addressed to me in my mother's handwriting, but never mailed. "Madeline," it read. "I know what Claire did. I knew it then, but I let it happen. I was afraid of losing control, of breaking the illusion we worked so hard to build. You were always the strong one, the kind one. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I failed you. But I see you now. I see everything." Tears blurred the page. For the first time in a decade, I felt seen. Not by the world, by her. The mother who couldn't say it while she lived, but whispered it from the other side. I put down my suitcase and picked up my phone, because maybe this wasn't just about me anymore. Maybe this was war. The video wasn't fancy. I didn't have a team of editors or a production budget. Just my voice, a camera propped on a stack of books, and the weight of 10 years' worth of silence. I didn't attack Claire. Not directly. Instead, I told the story the way it happened, not as a victim, not as a sister, but as a survivor of a family that had turned looking away into an art form. I spoke about the praise Claire was showered with, even when she lied, stole, hurt others. I spoke about the quiet, the complicity, the way love was weaponized to silence the inconvenient. I ended the video with a simple question. What happens when the one you're told to love is the one tearing you apart? I hit upload. Within hours, the numbers exploded. 10,000 views, 50, 100,000. Comments flooded in. People shared their own stories of being the scapegoat, the quiet sibling, the one always expected to forgive. By the next morning, the video had hit 2 million views. News outlets picked it up. Reddit threads dissected my timeline. Twitter was a war zone. Some defended Claire, citing her charity work. Others called her out, demanding transparency. Hashtags trended, #sister scandal, #family gaslight, #truth over legacy. Claire responded the way she always did, dramatically. A live stream. Perfect lighting, minimal makeup. She wore white, of course. She cried, told the world she loved her sister, that I was troubled, distorted by grief, attacking to cope with trauma. She mentioned our mother's death 5 times. She played the concerned sibling, the heartbroken daughter. The comments were split. Some offered prayers. Others weren't buying it. Then I got the email. No subject line, no signature, just a file. I opened it with shaking hands. It was an audio recording. Static at first, then voices. Claire's voice, low and sharp. She's brain dead. Just sign the damn thing. A male voice responded, hesitant. Are you sure she'd want this? I'm her power of attorney. She's done nothing but shame this family for years. Let's make it official. My blood froze. The timestamp was dated 2 days before Mom died. Claire had coerced a doctor, forced the transfer of every account, every property, while Mom was unconscious. I listened to it twice, then again. Then I sent it to my lawyer, and then I sent it to the press. By the weekend, everything changed. Headlines shifted. Claire Tran accused of medical fraud. Public demands investigation. Donors pull support. Her company's stock plummeted. Sponsors released statements. Former employees stepped forward. Anonymous Reddit users dug up screenshots. Old testimonies leaked emails. The internet turned. I met with the lawyer the next day, Noah beside me. His hands trembled, but his voice was clear. I want to testify, he said. I looked at him. Are you sure? She nearly killed me. For image. For money. I have to. For the first time, I saw not my little brother, but a man choosing to fight. The lawyer reviewed the case. With Noah as a witness and that recording, he said, we can move forward. Meanwhile, Claire was unraveling. Reports came in that she had overdosed on her anxiety meds. Some said it was accidental, others that she was spiraling. She was admitted to a private facility. Photos leaked, pale, disheveled, surrounded by nurses instead of cameras. Dad called me. She's not well, he said. Let's end this. No, I said. Madeline, enough damage has been done. Not by me. Silence. I've been quiet my whole life, I said. I was quiet when she framed me, when she stole from Noah, when she turned Mom into a prop. And you let her. You let her do all of it. You still are. Families forgive. Families protect. He didn't call again. The next morning, a courier arrived at my door. A thick envelope, legal seal, my name in bold. Inside, the official court summons. Claire Tran versus the people. The courthouse was colder than I imagined. Not in temperature, but in atmosphere. Sterile, watchful, waiting. The air buzzed with whispers and camera clicks as Claire arrived, flanked by 2 lawyers and a new PR handler. She wore black. Mourning, perhaps, for her image. I sat on the opposite bench, Noah to my left, Daniel behind us. Reporters lined the back row. Our father sat closer to Claire's side, hunched, small. He hadn't spoken to me since the phone call. When our eyes met, he looked away. Claire didn't. She smirked. The judge entered. The bailiff called the court to order, and just like that, a decade of silence turned into evidence. The prosecution led with the basics: financial discrepancies, falsified medical consent, unlawful signature manipulation. The audio recording played for the jury. Claire stared ahead, unmoved, as her own voice filled the room. "She's brain dead. Just sign the damn thing." A gasp rippled through the spectators. Then came the paper trail. Money rerouted from Noah's fund. Multiple personal expenditures under charitable aliases. One receipt was for a luxury retreat in the Maldives. Another, a diamond bracelet Claire had once claimed was a gift from a grateful donor. Her defense was clever, manipulative, and vile. They painted me as unstable, claimed I had a long history of emotional volatility. They referenced my departure from university, implied mental breakdown, even cited therapy records I hadn't known were accessible. They tried to twist my silence into secrecy, my caution into paranoia. They brought up the vandalized bookstore. "She may have done it herself," the lawyer suggested, "to frame my client." Noah gripped my hand under the table. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. Then they called Claire to the stand. She played her part well, soft voice, tears on cue, shaking hands. She told the jury she loved me, that I had always been fragile, that our mother's death had unhinged me. "I tried to help," she said. "I even paid for her rent when she was struggling." I almost laughed. Then the prosecution stood. "Ms. Tran," the lawyer said, "do you recall an interview you gave last year during a company retreat in Napa?" Claire frowned. "I've done dozens of interviews." This one was private, informal, but it was recorded. He hit play. The video quality was shaky, clearly someone's phone. Claire sat at a long outdoor table, wine glass in hand, visibly tipsy. Laughter echoed in the background. "Honestly," she slurred, "my family's a bunch of liabilities. You think I got this far being soft?" She sipped. "My sister still thinks Mom loved her. That poor idiot. You think I couldn't play those old fools?" She laughed again. "You think I'm stupid that I couldn't play those old fools?" The courtroom froze. Claire's lawyer objected. Too late. The judge admitted the clip. On social media, it exploded within minutes. The comments turned brutal. Claire exposed trended. Brands dropped their partnerships. Her company's website crashed from hate traffic. Donations dried up overnight. In court, Claire's composure cracked. She shouted, claimed the video was doctored, that it was a joke, a performance, anything but the truth. But it was over. The court moved swiftly after that. Multiple charges were filed: fraud, medical coercion, embezzlement, and falsifying legal documents. The judge ordered a full investigation into her company's financial history. I sat still, breathing through each wave of vindication and nausea. My father didn't move. Not when Claire screamed. Not when the judge read the charges. He stared at the floor like it could swallow him whole. The sentencing would come later, but the trial was done. Outside, reporters swarmed. Claire pushed past them without answering questions. Her heels clicked on the concrete, sharp and final. No one followed her. Not even her father. She turned back once, eyes red, voice hoarse. "I did everything," she shouted, "because I was scared no one would love me if I didn't." Her voice cracked mid-sentence. Then she disappeared into a waiting car, alone. Weeks passed. Claire was stripped of all executive power, her name removed from the company she founded. She tried to post again, to defend herself, but no one listened. The public had made up its mind. Redemption was not on the table. Noah, on the other hand, survived. A donor drive launched by supporters who followed our story raised more than enough for his heart surgery. The operation was long, the recovery difficult, but he lived. For the first time in years, I saw color return to his face, hope to his eyes. Dad never visited. He sent a short message via Daniel. "I can't face her, or myself." I didn't reply. Some debts are too deep for words. At the next court hearing, Claire pleaded no contest to most charges. She avoided jail time through a settlement, community service, and a ban from managing any nonprofit for 10 years. But the real sentence came in the form of silence. No one called her. No one invited her. She became what I had once been. Invisible. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Peeling paint clung to the porch columns, and the flower beds were dry, abandoned. But the bones of it were still the same. The creaky steps, the warped door frame, the window above the kitchen sink where sunlight used to spill over Mom's shoulders. The court had ruled fairly. Claire's assets were frozen and redistributed. A portion went toward Noah's continued medical care. The rest was divided. I didn't ask for everything, just what should have been mine all along, the house and a fair share of the inheritance. Standing in the empty living room, I expected to feel triumphant. But what settled in my chest wasn't victory, it was stillness. The kind that follows a storm when the wind forgets what it was screaming about. Noah helped me clean out the attic. We found old shoe boxes filled with photos, report cards, ribbons. Some mine, most Claire's. We found Mom's recipe book, stained with soy sauce and scribbled notes. I pressed it to my chest and cried for the version of her who had wanted to be brave but couldn't. And then I made a decision. I didn't want Claire's money. Not in the way people expected. Instead of pressing charges for emotional damage or dragging her name further through the mud, I used my portion to establish something new. A foundation in Mom's name dedicated to helping those pushed aside by their own families, especially daughters overlooked, scapegoated, or emotionally exiled. We named it the Silent Daughter Fund. Applications poured in within weeks. Letters from women who had been disinherited, misdiagnosed, manipulated. Stories that mirrored mine, each one uniquely devastating. I read them all. Our family would never reunite. Not really. My father sold the condo and moved abroad. He sent a postcard once from Portugal. "Hope you're well," it read. I didn't reply. Claire moved to a remote town on the coast, disappeared from public life. Her name became a cautionary tale in business schools. But me? I kept going. I wrote a book. It started as a memoir but turned into something else. Part essay, part research, part fire. The title was simple: When Silence Kills the Truth. It was raw, uncomfortable, and honest. I wrote about the way families protect the golden child, the ways scapegoats are erased, the complicity of silence. I didn't spare myself. I wrote about my bitterness, my guilt, my healing. It became a bestseller within months. Invitations followed from universities, conferences, shelters. I spoke not as a victim, but as a mirror. And every time I stood in front of a crowd, I saw recognition in their eyes. Not everyone has a Claire, but almost everyone has been asked to stay quiet for the sake of peace. At one event, after I finished speaking, a girl no older than 20 approached me. She held my book like it was made of glass. "Can you sign this?" she asked. I smiled and reached for my pen. "Of course." She hesitated before speaking again. "You said something on page 93, she said, about how sometimes the ones who hurt us were hurt first, that they twist love into control because that's all they've ever known. I nodded. It doesn't excuse them, but it helps explain them. She looked down. I used to be Claire. The words landed like thunder in a still room. I had a sister, she whispered. I broke her trust, lied about her. My parents always believed me more. I don't know why I did it. I just needed to win. She wiped a tear. She doesn't talk to me anymore, and I don't blame her. I didn't offer false comfort. I didn't say time heals all wounds. Instead, I said, then start here. Read every word. And don't run from who you were. Just don't stay her. She nodded, took a deep breath, and walked away. Later that night, I sat by the hotel window, lights of the city blinking like pulse lines. For a long time, I thought survival was the end of the story. But it wasn't. The real ending was this: knowing you can be broken and still build. Knowing you can speak after years of silence and the world will lean in, not turn away. Knowing you don't need their approval anymore to believe you were right. Knowing that truth, once spoken, cannot be unsaid. And finally, knowing that sometimes the person who needed to hear your voice the most was you.